Hello, my name is Christy Shane, ChrysTyShain. I'm the Director of Communications for the South Carolina Department of Corrections. The capital punishment sentence of Brad Keith Sigmon was carried out tonight pursuant to the order of the South Carolina Supreme Court and in accordance with state law. The execution was performed at 6:05:50 by a three-person firing squad and he was pronounced dead by a physician at 6:08 p.m. Sigman, 67, was sentenced to death in 2002 for murder and burglary in the deaths of David and Gladys Lark. Sigman used a baseball bat to beat the Larks to death in their Greenville home, April 27, 2001. Sigman's last statement was read to witnesses by his attorney and is as follows. I want my closing statement to be one of love and a calling to my fellow Christians to help us end the death penalty. An eye for an eye was used as justification to the jury for seeking the death penalty. At that time, I was too ignorant to know how wrong that was. Why? Because we no longer live under the Old Testament law, but now live under the New Testament. Matthew 5:38-39 says, quote, "You have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that you do not resist an evil person. Whosoever shall smite me on the right cheek, turn to him the other one as well." Romans 6:14, quote, "For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are no longer under the law, but under grace." End quote. Nowhere does God in the New Testament give man the authority to kill another man. That is why the Bible is divided into the Old Testament and the New Testament. Remember the words of Jesus, John 7:19. "Did not Moses give you the law? Yet none of you keep the law. We are now under God's grace and mercy." I have copies for you, and it will also be posted on our website. Witnesses to the execution included 3 members of the Lark family, a representative from the prosecuting solicitor's office, a representative from the Greenville Sheriff's Department, Sigman's attorney, Sigman's spiritual advisor, and 3 members of the news media who will address you now. After they all three speak, they will answer questions from the podium. They will not be available for interviews after the press conference ends, as they have their own stories to write. First, Jeffrey Collins from the Associated Press.
My name's Jeffrey Collins. I'm with the Associated Press. That's JEFFREYCOLLINS. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of walk you through what I saw today. So the curtain opened. It was about, looking at my notes, it was about 6:01, maybe a little bit after that. And the curtain opened. Brad Sigmon was strapped into the chair. Unlike other death executions I've seen, he was in a black jumpsuit, had black Crocs-like shoes on. He was completely strapped in. It looked like there was a harness over him. There was a strap over his head. His ankles were shackled. He had a covering over his mouth that was from about here down. When the curtain opened, he looked towards his attorney, who was on the front row of the witness. They kind of exchanged. They had an exchange. I couldn't tell because his mouth was covered what they were mouthing back and forth to each other, but it looked like he was just saying he was okay to his attorney. Sigman did. At that point, they had the attorney came out and read the final statement. When the final statement was read, well, let me back up one step. He had a target over his heart when the curtain opened. It was already there. It was a little rectangle white paper, or I'm assuming it was paper, could have been cloth. They had a bullseye on it. It had one outer ring and one inner ring on it. It was red. The bullseye was red. So they came out, read his final statement. At that point, when that was finished, a prison employee got a hood, put the hood over Sigman's head. Then that prison employee walked from the chair the 15 feet over to where there's a brick wall, and at that point there's a black shade, like one of those shades that you pull down and it rolls up. So there's a black shade there. The prison employee lifted up the shade, And then from that point, it was a little less than 2 minutes of nothing at that moment. I mean, you could see Brad Sigmon took several pretty deep breaths, and then suddenly the shots rang out at, I believe Christy said it was 6:05 and 50 seconds. At that point, you did see a small red stain on Sigman's chest. It was irregularly shaped, but oval, if that makes sense. I mean, like it wasn't like a circle; it was an oval shape. I saw it looked like he may have taken a couple of his chest rose and fell about 2 times immediately after the shots. You could see a tiny piece of like tissue or something that was coming out of that. At that point, also his arm tensed up when he got shot. There's kind of this brief moment of tensing. After that,
all right, so we've been listening to the press conference there in South Carolina. A witness from the Associated Press, one of the reporters there, who witnessed that firing squad execution. He got into the details there. If you want to listen to him and find him, I'm sure there's many places where you can go get that. But the among the many stories with this one tonight. Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.